Rainbow Six Siege can be a very difficult game to get into as a beginner. The game's mechanics are complex, the gunplay is difficult to master, and the operators have an extreme amount of depth to them. So, in today's video, I'll be giving you 10 tips to help you instantly improve at Rainbow Six Siege. These tips aren't exclusive to beginners though. Some of these tips may even help you champs out there. So make sure you watch the video all the way through because some of these tips will surprise you. Now in Siege, audio is key. Whether you need to hear footsteps of the opponents, the enemy thermite placing a breaching charge, or a nade being cooked below you, you need to understand how sound travels. Sound in this game travels through surfaces, that being doors, walls, floors, and any other surface. However, the more surfaces between you and the sound, the more muffled the audio will be. That is why shooting the glass on windows when you're defending is so strong, because it makes the audio have to travel through less layers, making it louder and clearer for you to hear. So if you need to know when the attackers are getting on rappel, shoot all the windows in the bomb site and you'll have a much easier time hearing them. This also has the added benefit of making an Amaru rush nearly impossible since the audio of our hook also gets amplified. This trick doesn't just apply to windows though. You can also shoot holes in a wall before reinforcing it to make audio pass through it much easier. This will make bandit tricking and K tricking actually possible since you don't have to play a guessing game with the enemy team. Moving past audio, understanding your man count in Siege and how to play off of it is key. When you are down heavily in man count, aggression should be your first course of action. You can't afford to passively hold angles when the enemy team has the upper hand because then you will allow them to overwhelm you later in the round. Instead, trying to pick up frags to even out the man count is what you should be doing. A lot of the time when you ramp up the aggression out of nowhere like this, the enemy team will not expect it. And at the end of the day, you really have no choice. If you want a chance at winning the round, you're going to have to get active and pick up some frags. However, the exact opposite is true when you have the man advantage. When you have the advantage, there is no need to take unnecessary risks, especially when you are on the defense since time is on your side. All you need to do in these situations is play passively and bait the aggression from your opponents. Since, as I said earlier, in a clutch situation, you need to get aggressive. So be prepared for your opponents to do the same and play around it. If you can follow these rules effectively, you'll stop throwing your rounds in the late game. On top of knowing about your man count, you also need to know when to swing. In Siege, there is something called peeker's advantage. This basically means that when you are swinging someone, in about 75% of the situations, you will have the upper hand due to server ping and reaction time. If an enemy knows where you are, swinging them is most likely going to be your best option. You don't want to let them get the upper hand on you by just standing still and holding an angle. You do need to keep in mind though, that this only applies when you're taking a one-on-one gunfight. If you're at risk of exposing yourself to multiple attackers or multiple angles, obviously don't swing. You only want to swing someone when you know it's going to be a fair fight. Also, there are situations where holding an angle is the better option. For example, if you're up on man count, especially on defense, you don't necessarily need to swing. You can just get away with holding a passive angle and waiting for them to swing you since man count and time is on your side. This leads me to my next tip, which is to stop being scared. A lot of the time when I see new players jump into Siege for the first time, they are absolutely terrified. They refuse to make a play and they will play extremely passively, crouching around and just holding angles. This can sometimes work in their favor on defense, but on attack, this is a terrible way to play the game. When attacking, the burden is on you to make the plays. The timer is against you, so you need to play like it. Don't be scared to swing an enemy if you know where they are. Don't be afraid to take map control after getting a kill, and don't be afraid to get aggressive. This goes for both sides. If you want to win games, especially in the current meta, you can't get away with this by being scared. Remember, this is just an FPS game at the end of the day. At some point, you are going to have to take a gunfight, and you'd rather that be on your terms than the opponent's. Now, being unpredictable goes hand in hand with this. When playing Siege, you want to catch your opponents off guard. Positioning yourself on uncommon angles or uncommon areas of a room can really do the trick. For example, jumping up on a table and holding an angle raises your head level a lot higher than what someone will be anticipating, meaning that if they swing you at head level, they'll actually be shooting at your body. This will give you a massive advantage in your gunfight if the opponents don't expect it. Another way to be unpredictable is to swing after throwing a nitro or flashbang. This is a risky play, but it will work a lot more often than you'd think. If you throw a flashbang into a room and then swing before it goes off, you'll catch a lot of defenders off guard, either looking away from your flashbang or trying to run away to avoid getting flashed. Additionally, if you throw a nitro through a doorway and then swing, a lot of the times the attackers will either be trying to shoot the nitro or trying to run away, allowing you to get a free kill. Any crazy plays like this make you hard for the enemy team to predict in a gunfight and can catch a lot of your opponents off guard. Moving past unpredictability, you also always want to be playing near at least one teammate. Going off on your own in Siege is almost always a bad idea. You're not only allowing your opponent opponents to take a one-on-one gunfight with you, but you're also denying yourself any intel your teammates could have provided you. In Siege, you never want to take a one-on-one gunfight. You always want to try to force your opponents to take a gunfight against 2 or more people, and separating does the exact opposite. Obviously, there are situations where you're going to have to take a one-on-one gunfight, but you want to limit those situations as much as possible. Additionally, one of the most important things in Siege is your mindset. Siege is just as much a mental game as it is a physical one. However, this is something I see new players neglect all the time. You can't let deaths get to your head. If you get mad or upset about losing, it's just going to make you play worse. So you need to try to keep your mental under control throughout the game. This also applies to your comms. When you die, don't get mad at your team, don't complain, and especially don't shit talk your teammates. This will not only cause your teammates to start playing worse, but it will also likely turn your team against you. What you should be doing is calling out the position of the player that killed you and immediately getting on cams. No matter how bad your team is, you can't blame them for everything. Take accountability for your mistakes in the round and move on. Speaking of taking responsibility, something I think you should all do, especially if you're low rank, is review your games. After losing a game heavily, go back and watch the replay. If you're playing with a stack of friends, view it together. When watching it, take notes of the mistakes you made and point out what you could have done differently to win the round. This will help you understand what you did wrong more clearly, and it will prevent you from making those same mistakes in the future. This will help accelerate the rate at which you learn significantly, because what the average player will do when they lose is get mad at their teammates and move on, meaning they learned nothing from the match at all, and all they did was blame their teammates. Every match of Siege should be a learning experience for you. When you win a game, take note of what you did right, and when you lose, take note of what you did wrong, and you'll quickly find yourself climbing the ranks. Before you can even think about playing ranked though, you are going to need to know all of the maps. Yes, this means learning maps like Emerald, Skyscraper, or even Stadium. Whether you like a map or not, if you want to be the best player possible, you need to be comfortable on every map in Siege. And the quickest way to learn the maps is to go into T-Hunt with Buck. Once you clear out all the terrorists, you can then use your shotgun to open up the entire map. And when you run out of ammo, you can just refill at an ammo box on the map. This makes learning angles on every map much easier. I've used this method to help my friends get into Siege, so trust me, it's worth doing if you're struggling with a particular map. And while you're in the custom game, you can also learn the callouts by using the compass on your UI. Overall, this is just a great way to learn the maps quickly, so I definitely recommend trying it. Now, if you've got all the maps down, but you're just struggling with gun skill, the shooting range is the perfect thing to utilize. I know this seems obvious, but a lot of players just completely forget it exists. If you're struggling with a gun's recoil, you can go over to one of these targets and fire your weapon. The recoil pattern will then be shown to you, which will make controlling it much easier. Let's say I'm firing a gun that shoots up to the left. This means you need to pull down and to the right, and vice versa. But the shooting range isn't just useful for learning recoil, it can also help you master your sensitivity. If you go over to the newest section of the shooting range and use these settings, you can practice your aim by tracking and flicking onto targets. This is a great way to warm up before a session, and it will also help you get a hang of your aim if you're struggling. Now, I know we've been through 10 tips already, but I have one last honorable mention. I see a lot of players banning the default operators, and it really needs to stop. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of players will ban the same operators every match. Those being Mira, Clash, Cade, Jackal, and Thatcher. These bans are terrible. The only operators out of that list that you should even consider banning are Mira and Thatcher. However, there are so many other operators that would be a better ban for you overall. Operators like Dokubi, Ying, Osa, Solace, Azami, and Finrit. All of these operators are extremely strong on pretty much any map, especially Azami and Solace, and that is why you should start banning them more in your games. Start thinking outside the box with your operator bans. If you have strategies in mind, ban the operators that actually counter that strategy. Don't just ban the same operators as everyone else. Anyways, that about wraps up today's video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with this list in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Also, if you want to see yourself in future videos, join up in the Discord. I want to get more active over there, so don't be afraid to join up. I'm sure we'll have some amazing fun. And anyways, if you want to watch another video just like this one, a video popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you'll enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.